So next we come on to the Immortals. $42 in the US or £26 in the UK, and in that box set you're going to be getting 5 Immortal models. Now in fact within the box itself you do get 5 Deathmark models, and you can use those bodies instead of having the Immortals there. Now the Immortals themselves, they're 16 points per model. They are a troop selection, so naturally they have objectives secured, and within a unit you need between 5 and 10 models. They're going to of course have the core keywords, so they're going to interact with quite a lot of the codex. We'll get onto that in a moment. Now some key stats of note: they've got a toughness value of a 5, slightly tougher than a Necron warrior, and they've also got a 3+ armor save on top of that as well. Now they do also have an additional attack over the warriors, but you don't really want them in combat. They are more of a shooty based unit. So let's go over the 2 options in terms of the weaponry. So option number 1, you can take them with the Ghost Blasters. These are 30-inch range, rapid fire 1, strength 5, -2 AP and 1 damage. Now this will drop down to a -1 AP against Armor of Contempt, but against other factions that -2 AP is pretty decent. Anything with a 5+ save, you're removing the save altogether. Don't forget you're going to be getting 2 shots at rapid fire range, that 15-inch range, and that can also be modified with the Dynasty codes as well as the custom codes. Again, we'll talk about that in a bit. But before we move on to the second weapon option, let's talk about some stratagems that are available when using those Ghost Blasters. Now the first one, Relentless Onslaught. It's 1 command point, and any 6s to hit with the Ghost weapons will score an additional hit. So if you are within rapid fire range and you've got 10 models in the unit, that's going to be 20 shots. You're averaging 3 to 4 6s there, so it's 3 to 4 additional hits. Is it the best use of this stratagem? Probably not in my opinion. You're probably best saving this for the Tomb Blades and the Necron Warriors, but you do have it if you wanted to. And very similarly, the Disintegration Capacitor stratagem is also a command point. Any 6s to hit will automatically wound. Again, I'd rather use this on the Tomb Blades and the Necron Warriors, but if you are CP heavy, yeah, use one of these stratagems. Now unfortunately, the stratagems do not stack together, so if you do use both the stratagems and you get a roll of a 6 to hit, you will get an additional hit, but with the first actual 6 that will automatically wound. So only one of those dice will automatically wound, the other one you still need to wound for. But let's move on to the second option, which is the Tesla Carbines. This is my preferred option, to be honest. Let's go through the weapon profile. So it's 24-inch range, Assault 2, so you're already getting the 2 shots there, and you can also advance with this weapon, but it will be at a -1 to hit penalty of course. Now it's strength 5 again, this time there's no AP and only 1 damage, but any hit roll of a 6 will inflict 2 additional hits. Now when you do the maths on this, it's basically like automatically hitting, although you're not automatically hitting because you can still miss. But in terms of averages, in theory, if you've got 20 shots, once you've taken into consideration all the 6s and the extra attacks and whatnot, you should roughly get around 20 hits. Now thankfully Armor of Contempt has no effect whatsoever on this weapon, which is why I quite like it, to be honest with you. It's already on 0 AP, and this weapon should be mainly used against factions with a low armor save. Maybe they're already on a 5+ or a 6+. Okay, they're going to roll for it, but you're going to have a lot more hits, a lot more wounds to make those pretty poor saves. That's why I personally prefer the Tesla option as opposed to the Gorse. Now there is a Tesla stratagem, of course, the Malevolent Arcing stratagem for 1 command point to throw out additional mortal wounds to nearby enemy units. Now you do have to actually roll a 4+ to initiate those mortal wounds, so it isn't a sure thing, but if there's lots of enemy units around that targeted unit, it's sometimes worth it. So that's the weapons. Let's talk about the Dynasty codes and how they're going to interact with the Immortals. First of all, the Mephrit Dynasty of course, +3 inches to the range of all the weapons. So now those Tesla Carbines are 27 inches and the Ghost Blasters are 33 inches. And don't forget that's a rapid fire weapon, so that rapid fire will trigger at 16.5 inches as opposed to 15 inches. Also at half range, you're going to get the extra AP on top of that, which can combat the Armor of Contempt rule of course. Now another option is the Sautek Dynasty. This is only going to work if you're taking the Gorse weapons though, because this will actually increase your rapid fire range from 15 inches to 18 inches. So this is directly competing with the Mephrit Dynasty and also Pitiless Hunters from the custom codes too. With Pitiless Hunters, if you stay stationary, you get the full range of 30 inches with 2 shots with the rapid fire weapons. Sometimes that's not a bad option. Now as for unit synergy, of course the Overlord models with the My Will Be Done ability, you're going to hear that quite often in these videos. They pretty much synergize with every unit that has core. If you want to re-roll your ones, you can bring out a Necron Lord with the Lord's Will, or alternatively you can use a Triarch Stalker to be re-rolling those ones with that targeting relay. Now if you wanted to be able to fall back with these guys because they're caught in combat, the Royal Warden will get them out just fine. Alternatively you could use the Command Protocol of Conquering Tyrant, that would do the exact same thing, but it will be at a -1 to hit penalty again. As for the more support characters within our codex, the Chronomancers, the Technomancers, I don't think they really synergize that well with the Immortals. I think they're too cheap of a unit and too unimportant, in fact, to be bringing an actual character model. I don't think your opponent's going to be starting to target your Immortals until late game. So yeah, keep your Chronomancers and your Technomancers for your more elite kind of units. Now personally, I pick these over Necron Warriors every time. They're our cheapest troop option within our codex. Now yes, they are 16 points, which is more than a Necron Warrior at 13 points, but you only need to take a minimum unit of 5 models, which in fact only costs you 80 points. Whereas with the Necron Warriors, you need a minimum unit of 10 models, that's 130 points. Yes, you do get 10 models as opposed to 5, but I don't believe the troop area of our codex is currently that great compared to other factions. So I'd rather go cheap and cheerful and spend the points elsewhere. Now the way I use Immortals, they're pretty much sitting on my home objective, behind the terrain feature within area terrain, getting that 2+ armor save because of the cover save, and yeah, they're pretty much just scoring you lots of primary objectives. They can even do some of the secondary objectives late game if you wanted to, because again, they're not going to get targeted till late game. There's bigger and better options for your opponent to take on. Again, I'm going to mention the protocol of Sudden Storm. To be able to do the actions while still firing, that's quite important army-wide in fact, not just for Immortals. When we're doing ancient machineries, raise the banners, things like that, you want to still be firing all your weapons. Now you can max out the unit to 10 models to be more offensive with them, maybe get them to the middle of the battlefield. That's going to be quite a lot of shots to be fair, and with a good range at strength 5, it should be removing quite a fair amount of models there. But if you are being more aggressive, then I would actually opt for the Necron Warriors or the Tomb Blades. I think they're better off doing that. They're more resilient with the reanimation protocols in particular, whereas Immortals, once they do get targeted, they do go down. But let's get on to the Planet 40k rating today. For the Necron Immortals, I'm going to be going with a solid 4-star.